So, of course, it is massively disappointing that Artur Beterbiev had to pull out of his fight against Dmitry Bivol. But nevertheless, we still have a great undercard to look forward to. And this is one of the fights, in my opinion, that has the potential to really deliver some fireworks. Zhilei Zhang versus Deontay Wilder. Arguably the two biggest punchers in the heavyweight division. So I think at a bare minimum, we're going to get a dramatic finish in this one. Starting with Zhilei Zhang, he's a fighter who I quite enjoy watching. I think he has a brilliant skill set. He's a very formidable fighter. He's had quite a rise over the past couple of years, particularly with his performances against Hrgovic and Joe Joyce. And even in his defeats to Hrgovic and most recently Joseph Parker, I feel like Zhang has still shown in those defeats that he's a formidable fighter. For those of you who haven't seen Zhang or you haven't watched him extensively, which I imagine most of you guys probably have, the best way I can sum up Zhilei Zhang is explosive front foot counter puncher. That's where his strengths lie. That is the kind of approach that he looks to adopt in his fights. And he does so with some pretty good effect. He has a very concentrated skill set, does Zhilei Zhang, where he looks to advance towards an opponent very slowly but surely. And he wants to get onto that front foot. He wants to apply a little bit of pressure so his opponent engages him. And off of that engagement, he looks to let rip some very dangerous counters. And that's the thing about Zhang is he's a big man. He's a very big man. He's 6'6". In his last fight, he was touching 300 pounds. I think he was like 291. Seemingly has that effortless power, because that's one thing about Zhang that not many people pick up on, is there's very little tell in his punches. He's not someone who, when he wants to punch hard, he's having to wind up and, cock his fist back or anything like that. He just throws his shots with good timing, good accuracy, great placement, and it's a hard, damaging shot. And there's also a schooling behind that as well. As I say, he's a very refined and very explosive counterpuncher despite his size. And he's not unbeatable by any means. I think he's a naturally explosive athlete. I don't think he's got much work capacity. I don't think he's the most enduring athlete. Additionally, I think a lot of his development has been invested into his offense. So in many ways, you could say that his offense is his form of defense. The defensive capabilities aren't great. They're quite limited. And I think all these factors, especially when we get onto Wilder, it's the ingredients for a very dramatic fight, a very engaging and potentially quite tense fight. But in my opinion, based on what I've seen of both guys, and I've seen quite a lot of them over the years, I think from a technical perspective, Zhang is leagues above Deontay Wilder. If we're looking at technique, we're looking at IQ, tactical know-how, I don't think it's really that close. I think Zhang, he has a clear idea of what he wants to do, which is get onto that front foot and use his counters, which he can actually be quite creative with. He can counter with both hands, punches very hard with both hands against an orthodox opponent. If they throw the jab, he can time it by splitting the jab with the left hand. He'll hook over it. He'll do the same with the right hand. If you attempt to throw a right hand at him, he'll hook off of that. He can go to the head. He can go to the body. He doesn't have the most active guard, Zhang. He doesn't have the most amount of head movement. Hand placement can be a little bit sluggish at times, but I think one thing he does very well is he understands timing and distance. So as soon as you step into range, or as soon as he steps into range, he has a good understanding of, all right, if you go to attack him when he's in range, he's usually ready to counter. And he can move quite methodically around the ring, but he understands how to work his offense off of that, which, combined with the fact that there's very little tell on his punches, he can be quite sneaky, quite crafty with his offense. And then we have Deontay Wilder, who, I highlight the fact that I don't think technically these guys are very close. I think Zhang is way more technically developed. However, if we look at Deontay Wilder's career, he's usually at some kind of technical disadvantage, let's be real. And now he's not a complete bum. I know some people think he is, but he's not. Like, yes, he's a big puncher, but you still have to find a way of landing your punches, and that's what Wilder does. So a lot of his nuance is around using the lead left hand to set up the right hand. Although I want to say he has a mixed bag of success. The only thing is he punches so hard that even if he has that 1% chance of landing, if he does land, that's it. It's a devastating effect a lot of the time. However, Deontay Wilder, he's not much of a technician. And so I think at least at face value, if you're weighing up their technical ability, Deontay Wilder, I can't say I'm very confident in him winning, I'll be honest. However, he does have a puncher's chance. He does have tremendous heart and bravery in the ring. However, I do think that Zhang, with the power he has, it's the kind of power that if he lands, all of a sudden that heart and that bravery doesn't matter because you're probably going to be separated from your senses. And I feel like we can actually look at the Joseph Parker fight that both of these guys had. Because even though Joseph Parker doesn't necessarily resemble either of them, Joseph Parker, I think, had a lot of success against both guys because he was quite an active target. You know, he was using an active guard. He was very dynamic. He was moving around. And that is the power of an active guard. It creates that ambiguity whereby if you can do it effectively, you can do it convincingly, it creates a layer of ambiguity that can keep your opponent honest. And that's what Parker did. As well as not being stationary, he showed that he was able to work off of that active guard, which can make it a little bit unsettling for an opponent, particularly an offensive opponent who's looking to time you, because you're already a moving target, but also you're working your own offense off of that active guard, which Parker did quite well. And I'm not sure if either one of these guys is going to be able to utilize that kind of active guard, particularly Deontay Wilder, because he's not the most coordinated guy. Doesn't really use a whole lot of head movement. If anything, his head stays quite level throughout a fight, but he uses his arms. He tries to keep that barrier, get that little bit of ring coverage, that kind of long arm defense, if that makes sense. And even Zhang himself, he's a little bit of a plodder, but as I say, there's a bit more methodology behind how he works past offense, particularly when he's in range, because he has a good gauge of distance and when he's in range. So I've got to be honest, I'm siding with Zhang with this one, because technically I give him the advantage, although he does seem quite partial to the right hook counter, as I mentioned previously. And I think if he attempts to do that to counter the right hand of Deontay Wilder, I think that could be problematic for him. Because, yeah, he might land on Wilder, but if he doesn't, and that right hand is already in full flight towards him, I don't think he's got the defensive responsibility to get out the way. And so I can quite clearly envisage a scenario where Deontay Wilder throws that right hand and Zhang attempts to counter with the right hook, but maybe he comes up short and gets tagged. And I think both guys have the power to knock the other one out cold. I seriously believe that. So I think both guys are going to be walking a tightrope. However, I want to say this a bit situational. We could also look at the weight of Zhang. I think if he comes in heavy like he did in that 290 range, like he did against Joseph Parker, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. I think at absolute maximum he should come in the high 270s like he did against Joyce in the first fight and Hrgovic, where I think he was around 277, 278. And absolute most. I don't think he should come in higher than that. Because he's not the most endurant fighter. He doesn't have the greatest work capacity. So unless he's going to stamp his authority early on the fight and really intimidate Wilder, I think he could be in trouble should it go rounds. Because even though Wilder has a decent gas tank, although his fights typically aren't fought at a great pace, I think he's just naturally got better work capacity than Zhilei Zhang. So yeah, it's really difficult to pick one of these guys and pick them confidently. But I've got to be honest, I'm just ever so slightly more confident in Zhang, because I think technically he's superior to Wilder. I do see how Wilder could win, but I think they're very specific scenarios which I'm not sure how likely they are to unfold and occur. So I'm going to go with Zhilei Zhang. I think he wins within 5 rounds. It wouldn't surprise me if the first couple of rounds are an opportunity for him to maybe just see what Wilder's going to do and maybe still let off some offense, but not commit to it so much. I think he'll try to get into range. I think he'll look to take the centre of the ring and do what he tries to do, which is edge forward towards an opponent. I think Wilder's probably going to be not too mobile, not like he was against Parker, but I think he's going to very slowly concede that ground. And then I can envisage getting into that 3rd, 4th, 5th round. I think that's when Zhang probably have a bit more confidence to let his hands go. And we might see him land quite cleanly on Deontay Wilder. And I don't trust Deontay Wilder's survival instincts. I think he'll be in there. He'll get stuck in. He'll be brave and have the heart that we've come to expect from him. But I don't think the survival instincts are there. I don't think he's going to be able to hold Zhang off. And Zhang is a very confident, almost arrogant fighter. So I think if he senses that he's hurt Wilder, he'll understand, like, right, now this is my chance. I can't let this guy back into a fight. I have to strike while the iron's hot, and I think he'll take him out. Method, I think it'll be a stoppage. I'm not sure if Wilder gets knocked out cold. I'm not sure if he gets counted out or if he's corner throws in the towel. I think out of those, I think I'm more inclined to say that his corner throws in the towel and just stops him from taking too much punishment. So, yeah. I can't say I'm confident, but I'm going Zhilei Zhang by stoppage, rounds 3 to 5. So, watch this space. Let's see what happens. This is definitely a fight where you don't even want to blink, let alone get up to get a drink or a snack. So hopefully it's a good fight. Hopefully we get some drama and some more heavyweight entertainment. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you make of my prediction? Who are you picking and why? And yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.